you're very welcome back to the Lads Podcast.
I'm Steve.
I'm Daragh.
And this week we're going to talk about being really fucking sad.
Yeah, this is the sad podcast.
The sad podcast. Really feeling sad.
How are you, boy? How's your week?
Shh. Oh.
See, I've kind of committed to this.
Once I'll get there,
I can't get out. Why are you laughing, boy? This is the sad podcast.
So I'm alright, boy. It's really kind of sad this week, though.
Me too.
A lot of sad. I got you. Look, we'll just keep going with that. So I'll speak like this and you speak like that.
Okay.
You're very welcome back to the Lads Podcast.
Hey, that's my line. Brilliant. Yeah, sorry about that. We were just doing a bit of experimenting. Just leave a comment on our web zone if you enjoyed the sad podcast.
Yeah, we'll do a sad podcast someday.
These are sad boy hours.
It's nice to have an experiment, isn't it?
It is,
Every once in a while. Bit of experimental music.
This week, we're talking about dinner. What's for dinner? We're talking about Steve's dinner. What he makes.
Yeah.
How he makes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's for dinner, lads?
What's for dinner? What is for dinner?
What is dinner? This podcast is about food. And it's really interesting that I was just thinking there. We said let's talk about diet.
No, one of our listeners suggested it.
He did, one of our patrons. Shout out to
Aaron. Thank you, Aaron, for suggesting. What's that thing? We said patron. What's a patron, Steve?
Guys, a patron is someone who likes to support us financially.
Ooh, that's a really good way to support us. I wish I could do that.
Yes, it is. And morally, also, by giving us finances, we're morally happy or something. I don't know.
If you want, we just shout it out every week, because there's no fucking sponsors on a podcast that 8 people listening to. But if you want to support us financially, head over to patreon.com/The Lads Podcast. If you want to stop us calling out patron, well,
sorry,
you can't.
Look, lads, it's 2 minutes. Just give us this. It's not even. It's like 10 seconds.
What?
See, we're over it already. We're over the hump. The hump.
I suppose, and we're excited as well. This podcast, as you can see from the runtime, isn't as long. Took the piss last week.
Yeah.
Last week was our first hour plus. I really enjoyed editing that.
Yeah, you got it.
Took 6 days.
You got a dessert. You got dessert.
You got dessert before the starters.
This week is just dinner, lads, and no starters.
Exactly. So
you had a 3-course meal last week.
You get a 5-minute podcast this week.
So just to finish our appetizer, Daragh, how was your week?
My week was busy. I worked through last weekend, podcast, bits, bobs, just gearing up for our holiday, which we're on holidays now. The boys are off up the west coast of Ireland starting tomorrow, which in the past is Friday, but for you in the future, we are somewhere in the middle, in the country of Ireland.
Yes, and speaking of the future, you saw a movie last night.
I did, Tenet. Well, so did you. You were there.
Was I?
Back in time.
Was I?
Tenet. It was... We're not going to talk about it because it's not a film review podcast, unless you want it to be. But I just loved being in the cinema again. Chris Nolan makes films be made in cinema. He loves the cinema. Big, loud, IMAX cameras, exciting action time.
He's outdoing himself every time he writes about time and how to interpret it.
Man loves it. Every single film has time except
Batman. Yeah, that was the thing, being back in the cinema. Obviously, at the start, it was like, Jesus, we haven't been in the cinema since like
6 months.
Longer, because I don't think that, because normally, like, I go to cinema with you, I don't go with anyone else. You and a group of other people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think we'd gone, because we were getting good around Christmas, and before that, we were going pretty regularly.
Yeah, and every day.
Yeah, literally every day, just re-watching films.
Yeah.
And then we kind of stopped going, and then the pandemic happened, so we're like, oh, shit.
Like, I was excited for this film anyway, because I love my Chris Nolan films, but then it was nice to come back with it, and just made me appreciate it, the big, loud sound and the experience of it. I was like, oh, God, because, now you can watch a movie on your phone, through a phone speaker. Why would you ever go to the cinema when you can do that? Not
on your laptop speaker.
Oh God, it makes you really appreciate the cinema.
Yeah, I remember actually just, feeling, as you do with Chris's movies, feeling the fucking floor move.
Oh God,
like,
good movie. Would recommend it. If you want to hear us talk about it in depth, let us know. If not,
I don't think I'd be able to talk about it in depth.
No, I have to see it 8 more times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, diet, food. That's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're actually talking about this week. So, Steve, what is for dinner?
I had a good week as well.
Yes. How's your week, Steve?
My week was alright.
What'd you get up to?
Saw Tenet.
Oh, did you? We better talk about that again.
I definitely did loads. Got my hair cut.
You did. Everyone, please.
Clap for Steve, lads.
Clap for Steve.
Come on. He finally, after 2 years, got a fucking haircut. Hippie.
Now we just diet hippie.
No, I look like...
Everyone comment on our web zone saying, well done, Steve, you look very handsome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
He doesn't need it, but let's compliment him anyway. Look at you.
Thanks, sir.
Big, handsome man.
Thanks, bye.
Fucking sick of looking at you.
You too.
What you have for dinner last night, Steve?
Well, while we're on the topic of diet, I had...
Patreon.com/The Lads Podcast.
I had popcorn and minstrels and Coke.
Oh, what kind of diet is that? Is that vegan?
That's the keto vegan diet that I've just started recently, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
It's really good, yeah.
Would you recommend it
to everyone? Oh my God, my skin is so clear and
your
hair is shining.
Feeling good, yeah.
Full. It's just the eat what you want diet.
I suppose we'll start it off because we're going to talk about like a vast array of stuff, kind of. But let's start off with stuff we can kind of relate to. This man here sitting across from me is the resident vegetarian, ex-vegan. So that's a diet, allegedly, and a lifestyle if you want it to be. And I'm not. I devour dead animals, as amongst other things.
He hunts them as well.
Yeah, I hunt them.
Hunts dogs and kills them. I've been trying to say, Daragh, I think you should stop with the hunting dogs. Like, eating it's bad enough, but you're hunting dogs, man. Look, going out of your way. One of my dogs, I'll just say now, Daragh had.
Daragh ate one of your dogs.
Ate one of my dogs, and that's the
do you know what I'll do it again? I'm going to eat the other dog.
Oh, please, don't eat her. She's precious, man. You can't. She wouldn't even taste nice, I'd say. Look at her.
Brilliant. Yeah, you big fucking...
Everyone calls me vegan, and that's actually really interesting.
Because you used to be vegan. You were vegan for over a year. That's why.
It was less than a year.
All right.
It was 9 months.
We did listen to it for 9 months. Nah.
But everyone does that. It's funny. Everyone is like, oh, sure, you're vegan. It's like, that's actually an interesting thing because veganism has become so popular in the last 10 years. I think
there's more vegans than vegetarians.
That's what I mean, yeah.
From what you hear anyway, I guess.
Yeah, and it's more of a, I don't know, it's more of a buzzword or something.
It is.
And everyone kind of goes, oh, sure, you're vegan. And like, I literally say, I feel like a wanker correcting it and saying, well, I'm vegetarian. But I only do that because it's like,
because you're not.
I can't call myself vegan. I still eat cheese.
I still think it's just because you were for a long period of time and you were very, you were positive and outspoken about it, and you know, so now people associate you. So
okay, fair enough with me. But
shut up, fuck off, sick of it. What? I suppose let's divulge a little bit.
Okay.
What's the story with veganism, Steve? Let's do that first, then you can talk about vegetarianism because you've done both. So what's the crack?
Look, we all know what veganism is.
Explain.
It's plant-based. It's a plant-based diet.
It's an exclusionary diet. It's excluding everything that is an animal directly or comes from an animal.
Yeah, animal products, byproducts, or animals themselves.
Yeah.
And, there's obviously many fucking reasons for it. Environmental, ethical, and health. Yeah, really great health benefits from it. When I first went vegan, and to be honest, I'm not a fucking encyclopedia. Look, lads, the Lads Podcast. It's a bit of crack. You know what I mean? We just have a nice light discussion, you know. Yeah, I'm not a fucking encyclopedia on what veganism does for you, and
don't put yourself down either. You're also very well educated about it. You didn't just do it, be like, fuck it, yeah.
Oh, I did though. I was literally like, and then I started looking up about it.
Then you're quite educated about it.
Yeah, obviously. No, it's a funny one. I kind of did it somewhat suddenly when I was 22. I was in final year of college, and it was coinciding with quite a productive time in my life. I was going for my 3rd degree black belt in karate, so I was training like fuck. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of friends in college who were like
friends.
Vegan. Apart from you, I have a few actually. Apart from you, yeah.
I don't believe it.
I know. Yeah, they're gone now. And one in particular, he was always talking about veganism, really into it. And I was kind of like starting to open my mind up a bit more. Like before that, I was like into the gym and I was like 90 kg. And I was like, fucking steak and 3 liters of milk a day, boy, fuck it. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not fucking shitting on it. But that was just the way I was. And I was like, I would have been the person before who would have said, I'd never go vegan, but I couldn't live without meat. If you remember, I would have.
Oh yeah,
I would have outspokenly said that.
Like that, I guess.
That's true, especially at a certain age. And I kind of, I just said, fuck it, I wouldn't mind trying it, just because I looked at the stuff that this guy was bringing into college all the time, and I was like, actually looks fucking class. And he'd give me tasters, and I was like, fuck, that looks Jesus. And I was like, I was eating Sunday roast one day, and I was like eating a piece of fucking beef, like, and I was like, yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna go vegan tomorrow. My parents were like, the fuck, what's vegan?
Yeah.
So that was in 2016.
I remember being obviously, 4 years ago, 21, being like, what?
Yeah, I remember you were like, why? And I was like,
why, boy? Because I didn't know many people are, being vegan, and I was like, why don't you just eat healthier? Why cut out the meat? Why cut out all this stuff? And
I'm sure a lot of people would have thought I was probably jumping on the bandwagon too. A lot of people would think that of people at that age, you know what I mean? Because it was somewhat of a bandwagon 5 years ago. Yeah. But look, so I gave it a try, and I thought it was really easy to get used to.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing though. Like, I lost a lot of weight though, because before that I was at a stage where I was.
Yeah, I remember that there was
not unhealthy, but
not really want to publicly comment on your weight, but because months previous you were bulking, you were mad into powerlifting in the gym, and you were a big, strong looking lad.
Yeah.
And within like a 6 to 8 month period, you lost so much like water weight and actual weight, and then I suppose you weren't training in the gym.
I was doing a lot of cardio as well. I was training in karate so much.
You were losing muscle as well, so it was funny just to, you notice after a couple of months, like, whoa, Steve's lost a rake of weight. I suppose
remember it,
your diet wasn't as calorically dense.
That's the thing. It's a funny one. It's
because it's true, as well, as far as I'm aware with veganism, is because meat is very calorically dense, and if you're having dairy products on top of all of it, dairy is extremely, and cream and cheese, they're all calorically dense. Exactly, so like when you're cutting, again, it's an exclusionary diet, and the people replace it with plants and stuff, but a lot of plant-based stuff isn't as calorically heavy. So I think a lot of people, this is me just, I'm chatting.
We're just chatting
shit. But
it's grand.
As far as I'm aware, like, people change over the diet, right? And they cut out all, that kind of those types of foods, and maybe they cut out a lot of crap as well.
Yes.
Because it doesn't just mean the diet. People actually become, a lot of vegans are very healthy.
It's kind of like a byproduct of it. Like, you just
so
suddenly.
Hence why a lot of people lose weight and go, oh God, my life is so much better. Fuck the meat.
Well, yeah, I didn't have chocolate for months, man, or 9 months or however long I was at it.
So
that's a lot of sugar.
You cut out a rake of calories and cut out a load of kind of unnecessary sugars and fats and stuff.
Absolutely. Now, there's one thing about it, and this is not something I had, because I was lucky enough to pick up good eating habits from a young age, and I guess I was very well lucky with my family, quite well educated in that. Okay. And I was also quite an interest in it since I was a teenager. So, but a lot of people, like, there are a lot of times when if you do become vegan, if you're not cooking yourself, and if you're not actually going out of your way to do your recipes, have enough like protein, carbs,
you're lacking
fats and macronutrients, then you can do it very unhealthy.
Okay,
I think
I've heard of that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't. It's not a high percentage, by the way. You'd see a lot of clickbait articles that say 20% of vegans are fucking unhealthy, or and
but then you take 20% of meat eaters; they're also fucking unhealthy as well. So those are usually kind of bullshit studies.
Yeah, they are, and they say that without saying 80% of them are healthy. That kind of way. Exactly. That's just a figure I came up with.
No. I was reading into it as well, and they just a lot of long-term eating studies, as far as I'm aware, it's hard to have a fair, actual and accurate result, because you have to trust that people will eat a certain way for 6 months to a year to have accurate results, and then whether they will and whether they won't. So it's nearly hard to get the results.
That's totally it. And also, like, diet is something that I'm not trying to be the guy who's saying everyone go vegan, because it's really, everyone's body is so different, and it's not for everyone. Just to wrap it up, I gave it a go, and within, really easy to get used to. It was like, I'd say 2 weeks, and the only thing you had to get used to was literally expanding your stomach, because the food isn't as calorically dense, so you have to eat more. But just to literally fill you up, and it was grand. Lost a bit of weight, that not to an unhealthy level, just because my lifestyle was changing. Loads of energy, skin felt really clear, really, really cool. Dairy especially was a big one that I noticed a difference.
You drank milk all the time.
I had 3 liters of milk a day, man, when I was trying to put on weight, when I was bulking up, like.
Yeah, sure.
But it totally felt great from it, and the only thing I will say though is when I went strict vegan straight after, I didn't go vegetarianism first or pescatarianism.
You went straight
into it, because I was like, a lot of the reason I did it though was a very personal, like, obviously there was the ethical reasons and all that too, but a lot of it for me was just kind of like, I want to see, can I do it?
Okay,
it was a personal challenge, so like I noticed that, like, slow, it was like so much harder to stick to it after a while, because it was like I should have eased my way into it. Really,
I can attest to this, because we'd be on nights out, piss drunk after the end of the night into McDonald's, and Steve going, boy, will I get a chicken burger? I'll get it. And this happened like nearly every night out. And will I just get a pizza? Fuck it.
And you were like, do what you want.
Do whatever you want. It's your food. It's your diet, man. I don't care.
But the funny thing about that was I was probably 4 or 5 months of solid. And then when I was pissed drunk, the cheats when I was drunk, and it would literally be a beef burger, chicken burger, and chips at McDonald's. And I'd be like, it's grand, I'm drunk. And
I kind of loved it then because I'd be like, you'd be like, I'm a vegan, right? You're actually not.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
had chicken last week.
That's the thing. I'd be telling people I'm vegan. You'd be like,
I'd jump in and be like, yes, time to be a fucking asshole.
But it was so funny, and I wouldn't even have this immense guilt. I was just like, it's grand. And then I'd be the rest of the week. Then I'd be back to just proper veganism. And then Saturday night comes and I'm marching away again. And then eventually, of course, then you slowly start going out of it. And I went back to meat then. Until last year, I went vegetarianism, and I haven't eaten meat since at all. And love it.
So like veganism, obviously absence of meat and stuff. But what about a meat-only diet? Not only meat-only, a red meat-only diet.
Oh, we're getting onto the old Peterson diet.
The Michaela, I think her name is.
It's Michaela. Yeah, Jordan Peterson's daughter.
Jordan Peterson's daughter. She's the one that introduced him. So I thought it was his diet. It's actually her diet.
Yeah, I actually was reading into this too. She had a lot of
chronic
problems.
illnesses.
Yeah, literally.
She had rheumatoid. Oh God. She had rheumatoid arthritis from like age 7. What else? Depression, age 12. Bipolar type 2. Idiopathic hypersomnia, Lyme disease, and a rake of other things.
Jesus, yeah.
So the poor girl had a lot of shit going on. So she did. I think I was watching an interview with her. She was researching for like 2 years and came across this just red meat, salt and water diet. That's it. Fucking hell! I talk about extreme diets, like so.
That's crazy.
Now she claims that it's like cured so many of her ailments and stuff, and I can only look into this so much because I don't know how her body works, and everyone's body works differently. Maybe it's placebo. I don't know if I can't accuse her of saying she's making it up, or maybe it is legit scientific in the way red meat works with her body. I don't know.
My take on it is like, I think that's because it's such an interesting story, so people are going to talk about it a lot, because it is like, who does that?
Oh yeah, it's very interesting.
It's just red meat. It is. It's really, so everyone's going to be like listening to that and saying, yeah, that's class. But I don't know. I really think that's probably not a great option for.
I would not recommend
the majority of people. I think that's just.
I would recommend it to
everyone. I think she's a rare case of someone
with
a lot of chronic illnesses, so it's great that it does work for her. But
evidence from the Independent Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition, they say not to eat more than 500 grams, which is for Americans a pound, of red meat a week to limit the risk of bowel cancer, because there's a absolute correlation there.
Absolutely, yeah. That was one of the reasons why I was happy to stop eating red meat.
And then like I was just reading into articles about it, for and against it, mainly against. And Andy DeSantis, he's a dietitian from Toronto, said like the best available scientific evidence tells us that the most healthful foods are foods that are associated with the best health outcomes, good digestive health, lessen the risk of disease, and so on, tend to be of non-animal origin. Plants, grains, cereals, etc.
So what do animals eat? Boy, plants.
Literally, and
I guess some of them eat each other.
For more citations, because remember we said it last week, we're going to do some research. Jack Gilbert, the faculty director of the University of Chicago's Microbiome Center, and he's a professor of surgery. Now I'm going to paraphrase this because it was a very, very, very jargony quote, but he basically said that you'll see severe dysregulation. Fermentation that goes on in your gut, right? It basically stops if you're just eating red meat. Ooh. So fermentation is how you make beer. So if you want to stop making beer in your gut, eat a load of red meat. And you eventually you're not able to regulate hormones properly, and in some cases enter into cardiac issues. So if you eat nothing, thank you. I read Wikipedia. I googled.
That was fucking Daragh.
Thanks,
Daragh,
Steve. Wasn't that beautiful?
That was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
Excellent.
But basically, a lot of people were saying, don't eat just red meat, you fucking lunatics. You should be cutting down on meat.
When was this interview? I'd love to see what she's getting on now.
Oh no, that's her platform. That's her thing.
Oh.
She goes around advocating for it because she started it 2 years ago. Jordan Peterson's on it as well. He claims it lifted his depression and his anxiety. And as a hot take, maybe it's a case that any dietary change, people who go vegan claim that, you feel better. I think if you're just getting out of I think a big shift in diet could help.
Maybe. There's probably some truth to that, alright, that any pretty big change in your life it makes you feel better about yourself for a lot of.
And then if you're not eating as many saturated fats
exactly.
or simple carbs and stuff that just kind of convert to, sugar and glucose and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of protein.
When I first heard about Jordan Peterson only being on a red meat diet,
I was like, of course.
Yeah. I was like,
is he trying to trigger the libs I thought
trigger the vegans,
I genuinely thought it was a case of, well, fuck leftist vegans, I'm going to just eat meat.
It's actually, I was actually thinking that too. I was like, it
turns out it's not. It's actually out of health reasons.
Yeah, exactly. But I was literally the first thing I remember.
The eyes were in the back of the skull, like.
So I don't know. It's an interesting one. I definitely don't think it's the most recommended diet ever.
No. I think she's just the kind of the
anomaly, like.
The anomaly in it, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the next one? The sweet corn
only diet. Yeah.
Fucking love that, boy. That's what I eat.
Boy. It's great for the old.
Yeah, you just eat it and poo it out.
What else can you eat that doesn't digest?
Rocks.
Oh yeah, I love rocks.
The Rock diet.
Yeah.
Dwayne The Rock diet,
The Rock.
Intermittent fasting.
Oh yeah.
That's a diet.
One of our friends was doing that for a while. That sounds crap.
It
does, like.
It sounds like a crap time, but I think it's like good for insulin and metabolism. I think it does a lot there. But
they all have their benefits for different things. This is the thing. It's so hard
It's a massive science. You see, of course, we two fucking plonkers with our podcast decide to do a podcast on diet when people have masters in nutrition and stuff. And will we get them on? No.
Yeah, we're covering quite a base level of personal experiences and
eating food.
Lads, we've talked about this before. You're sitting in the pub or down the back house. You're just sitting there and we're just
sitting
having
in the pub
chat.
listening to the lads' podcast.
But this is the vibe of the podcast. It's just nice chats,
Well done.
Hot fucking takes, not hot takes, but kind of
lukewarm takes.
Lukewarm takes that might be bullshit, but who knows?
Something with a bit of spice sometimes.
Bit of cumin. Do you like cumin? Cumin's in the diet.
I think so.
I love
a diet of nothing but cumin.
The
cinnamon challenge every day for breakfast.
No, the cumin challenge.
Oh, both.
No, that's the thing about diet though too. It's quite fucking broad. Every diet has its own benefits, but also has its own disadvantages. And like my sister's friend is she did home economics. Was it the degree in home economics? It is.
I know. I'll text her there.
She's a teacher.
She said, yeah.
She's a secondary school teacher, but she did her degree in is it Sligo or Mayo? There's some college up there that specifies on home economics. It's like a 5-year course. Or
Brilliant. Tell me more about this course.
What
can I get out of it?
You can get the fucking degree and then a master's out of it to teach home economics and another subject. So.
Are they sponsoring you?
Irish is it? Yes. School is sponsoring me. But she always she's literally I don't think vegan or vegetarianism diet is the healthiest diet. She's very just I think I could be wrong, but she said the healthiest diet, according to, I don't know, the World Health Organization, whatever, is 2 meat days, 2 fish days, 2 vegetarian days, and then, oh God, there's 6 days in a week, isn't there?
The chocolate day.
Yes, then Chucky, Bix and crisps and
wine.
Oh yeah, loads of it. 2 alcohol days. That was it. Sorry, yeah. There's 8 days in the week now.
Oh, brilliant.
According to a popular Bangle song.
John Lennon invented the 8th day.
I definitely know you, man. What the fuck is your name again?
I'm in the lads' podcast.
Oh, shit.
That's me.
'Tis yourself.
Yeah, I'm from that.
Oh, hi. So, Daragh, you're a big man.
Thanks, boy. Appreciate it. Yeah, I am. Get away from me.
You go to the gym.
I do.
Talk about some bro science, man. Talk about does it fit your macros?
If it fits your macros. If you're like, what's that?
A lifestyle I left a 4 year ago.
Yeah, if it fits your macros is an interesting one. It's basically, it's very popular with bodybuilders and stuff because at the end of the day, if you're trying to gain or lose weight, meaning muscle, I suppose, or fat or whatever, you want to, it's a diet, but it's quite a flexible one.
Yeah.
You can say you don't have to eat any particular type of food. It's not like meat or non-meat or whatever. It's kind of as long as you fit in your macronutrients. The 3 main ones being protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And there's actually a 4th macronutrient, which is alcohol.
And you got to fit that in too, guys.
Protein has 4 calories per gram. Carbs have 4 calories per gram. Fat is 9 calories per gram. So alcohol is 7.
I actually thought alcohol was just carbs. Is it actually a separate macronutrient?
It's a separate macronutrient. Is it? Yeah, it is. They just don't include it because, you can go without it. It's not good for you.
It's not needed.
It's just poison,
I did not know that.
Tasty poison that makes you feel good, then really sad. To do it properly, you kind of you calculate your base metabolic rate. That's like your age and your weight and maybe your sex. And adjust for activity level, and based on your weight goals, you want to gain muscle, lose weight, and then it kind of assigns you macros. So it's like you should hit 1,800 calories per day. It needs to be 40% protein and 30%,
Depending on what you want, you can pick your ratio of...
Yeah, well, it kind of tells you as well.
It's usually like 50, 20, 30, isn't it? 50%
I think,
carbs, 20% protein, 30% fat.
That's if you're, let's say, cutting and you don't want to lose muscle.
Yeah, then you're going to have...
Cutting, if anyone cares, is like, you're trying to keep your muscle but lose the fat to have that shredded look. And you're supposed to up your protein intake while you're cutting your calories so you don't lose muscle while you're lifting weights
so you
and
get
stuff.
40, 30, 30 or something.
Yeah, but the good thing is like then it's like, okay, well, here's your list of high protein foods. Go eat whatever you want out of them. So it's a nice kind of liberal diet. If I was to be part of any diet, that's the closest I am, but I'm not.
It is.
I'm not diehard enough for the gym or my nutrition. Hence, I would look bigger and leaner and cooler. Yet here we are.
What I don't like about it though is the literal like, oh fuck it fits my macros, and like micronutrients are really important too.
Yeah, but people use it as an excuse to say, fuck it, I'm gonna eat a day of fucking ice cream and pizza.
Exactly, and I'm like, you still have to fucking eat your vegetables. I know there's fuck all calories.
That's the problem. That is the
like.
problem with if it fits your macros. It doesn't specify or care about micronutrients.
Yeah, because you're not. It's literally it's very
the core building blocks of a diet.
Yeah,
but it doesn't look at veg and micronutrients.
Yeah, because it's literally just about the size and about the just end goal. But it's like, but you need to for your overall health, like, and also what do you think about like cardio? Because I know this is slightly separate, but like cardio really can fuck up that though, can't it?
Absolutely.
If you're trying to bulk, but cardio is also so important, man. For
cardiovascular, yeah, it is. I guess in the long term now, but any kind of sweat breaking or raising anything that raises your heart rate is cardiovascular. Yeah. So as long as you're going for maybe a brisk walk or...
I was just gonna say, you'd recommend that. So would you going for a walk? Because you don't want to go running, because then
no, I'm the least educated in all circles when it comes to gymming. I ask people don't ask me, but from my kind of point of view of stuff, and anyway, I've spoken to, because I remember speaking to like a nutritionist that came into work. He just assessed us. I was like, all my buddies are getting into running, and I've tried to run every now and again. He's like, what are you trying to do? What are your goals? I was like, to build muscle and all this stuff. He was like, nah, cardio isn't gonna, because your body is concentrating then on essentially burning fat and not putting on muscle, which isn't very easy to do unless you're on anabolic steroids.
It's counterproductive, like.
It is counterproductive. You're never gonna. It's kind of, you commit to one or the other.
Yeah, I struggled big time when I was trying to put on weight with karate, because karate is also really burns a lot of, and my job is also both those things.
So you
burn
have
so
to
much
eat
calories.
so many calories.
Oh, it was like 4,000 a day.
Oh, which is ridiculous.
It was grim, and I wasn't even getting that big. You know what I mean? I got big compared to what I'm like now, like. Because now I go running and scaffold, so I'm like, and vegetarian.
The downside though of all this kind of stuff when you're gymming and dieting, and if it's your macros, one little study I came across was so people generally get kind of calorie tracker apps, right? One study found that 73% of college students diagnosed with eating disorders believed that tracking apps contributed to the development of their condition. And I guess I could see that, because you become so obsessed with counting every single last calorie and macronutrient, and then look, yeah, that
used to bother me a bit though, because I used to be mad tracking it as well, and there's a lot of things you just can't track, and you're like, oh my god, like, it's hard to track. You have to really go to your way, and you're like, oh my god, how much is this though?
Exactly, and then you kind of get wound up if you miss a meal or not track this, which is why I kind of, it's not the forefront of my priorities, hence why I don't look like, who's a muscular man in Hollywood?
Daragh Toomey.
Why I don't look like Daragh Toomey of the Lads podcast,
Steve Collins.
That's me. Yeah.
I knew it. I fucking knew it was
Steve Collins. That's me. Patreon.com/Sleeve Collins.
/Sleeve Jollins.
Steve Bollins.
Of the Pads Lodcast.
Yeah, bodybuilding, if it fits your macros. Do it if you like, I guess.
Like all diets, take them with a pinch of fucking salt.
Except...
And don't have that much salt.
Yeah, let's actually move on to... This is the big one now, is what I find very interesting. Yes. The food pyramid. Dun.
Where we get a bit really into things.
Food pyramid. I looked up some facts. So the food pyramid is an American export. It's not an Irish or European. It came from America, so you have to keep that in mind, right?
It's not from the World Health Organization, is it?
It is not. So it came out in 1992. After the 1988 U.S. Surgeon General, they released a 700-page report on nutrition to try fix America's diet because they were having like an massive health and obesity problem. So basically, what they kind of got out of this massive study that the Surgeon General's and the boys put together, it was like, okay, fats are bad. Okay, so you know the OG, the food pyramid has since been retired. I think 2011 is when they scrapped it. But, you know, you listen to this podcast, and definitely us, you were probably educated, as in secondary school, it was still part of the forefront of our nutritional education.
Yeah.
So if you look at the bottom of it, right, so what it was, it's all... Carbs. Like 5 or 6 plus a day is carbs. It's your grains, it's your cereals. Next up you have is like fruit, vegetables.
And then you got your, it's more like dairy and fish and stuff in the third. And then it's
very specific, dairy and fish.
Then the next one is meat and poultry. So that's like...
Is that like 2 or 3 times a day, yeah?
This fucking has fish in both of them. What the fuck?
Fishy, milky fish.
This fucking food pyramid's bollocks.
Yeah, and then finally, the top is all fats, oils and
sweets,
sugars.
Yeah, and fat is okay. It's just trans fat is the one you want to avoid. And that is something that culture is starting to learn as things go on. Trans fats aren't good. Saturated is okay in moderation.
But do you want to hear a fun fact though? And this is true.
What?
The bottom row of the food pyramid, the bottom of the pyramid, was supposed to be fruit and veg when they originally designed it in the early 90s.
That makes sense though, yeah.
And the U.S. Department of Agriculture went, no, we need our grains because that's what farmers are selling, that's what is a massive part of our industry.
That's just
if you tell everyone not to eat their carbs, well, they'll lose business. So
sums up America.
You're not going to fuck up. Well, if it sums up capitalism.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
because we base a lot of legislation and stuff around the dairy farmers and the meat farmers and the meat processing plants and all that stuff. So capitalism loves meat, you know? Yeah. And, I
remember as a kid learning the food pyramid, and I remember specifically being like, this colourful thing, and I was like, all right, this is weird. And I remember it was like, you know, as a kid too, eating 6 pastas a day or bread. I was like, how? Because it's obviously based on an adult's diet, not a fucking child's. And I was
but we were still taught it.
Yeah, they still tell you this, and you're like, what the fuck? And I remember being like, I'm pretty sure we were all asking the question, Miss or Sir, whichever teacher we had at the time, why do we have pasta and all that first? Is fruit and veg not supposed to be better for you? Because that's all you're ever taught. You're taught that, yet
eat
this
fruit
food.
And veg.
So it's so funny that they were just like, fuck it.
Now it's literally, we're trying to unlearn the effects of that, because what happened was, though, they noticed, so that came out in the 90s, the early 90s, and it became international. It was huge. And what they noticed was obesity was not going down, it was getting worse.
Yep.
Because we're eating so much carbs, and then if you're not exercising, carbs just turn into fat, as far as I'm aware. You keep the weight unless you burn it off.
Thing is
very rudimentary definition. Sorry.
The thing they need to realize is that eating is just one behavior in a healthy lifestyle cascade. Yeah. You know, there's also like sleep, stress management, exercise, and eating is just one part
quantity,
of that,
which is amount of calories.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. But as I say, that's only one segment of all of that. Like, there's a lot to it as well.
Exactly.
Like, you need other things.
Fun fact as well. So in there, that kind of the anti-fats. So like in the 80s, right? The America became very scared of fats because they're like, this is what's putting on the weight. It's fat bad, not carbs as well. So what happened was the industry of low-fat food started coming out. So everything, and it's actually massive. When do you not see low-fat
everything,
Pepsi Max, Diet Coke.
Light milk.
It's everywhere. Every type of food you can get is nearly low fat. But then the problem with that is you're replacing sugar with sweeteners, which end up being...
Yeah, that's bollocks. Yeah.
And as well as that, the food pyramid didn't differentiate between... Oh no, fun fact, right? So the food pyramid didn't differentiate between complex carbs and simple carbs.
Yeah.
But that report that was done by the Surgeon General did. But they were like, oh, that's too complicated.
Literally, we won't understand
They literally were like, they won't get that. Geez, give us the benefit of the doubt, huh?
Credit,
just put it at least in half. One half being, disaster. So it's so funny that we were all raising that. And I think when you look at our dinners growing up, and probably still our dinners, because, you know, our parents were having kids in the 90s, and what's coming out the food pyramid, and I suppose that's how they were raised. Your bacon and cabbage, you fill up on your carb. And as far as I'm aware, you know, I think more Asian diets, this is a really far-flung, this is probably bollockology, so bear with me, guys. But maybe China, is they, huge rice diets, okay?
Yeah.
And then you'd have your meat. And I think the idea was you'd eat your rice first and fill up on that and then have your meat. I think the idea was poorer people would have loads of rice and very little veg and meat, and then the rich people, because they could afford the meat and the veg, would have a little bit of rice and loads of meat and veg.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think that's something I read, like, I'd say somewhere on Facebook 8 years ago.
I think food culture has changed in general since the 90s, though. I guess, like, our work is a lot less movement involved as it used to be.
Yeah, we're not out in the fields, we're at the desk.
Yeah, we're not doing, there's not as much construction workers, or there's like...
Just as we said in automations, no more pickaxes, just a man with a computer. Was that last week?
That was a few weeks ago.
Jesus.
2 weeks ago, maybe.
Jesus Christ.
Flying by, huh?
Loads of them.
Yeah, the energy balance, say, between like movement and eating is changing a lot. So I think that's why... there's a lot more education on food now, because there has to be, because, as you say, that's probably where the obesity problem began in a lot of the Western world and all that.
Yeah.
One thing though is like sugar. Sugar is just like the sneakiest thing in the industrial world.
Isn't it just? But as well as that, our brains need sugar. We need glucose, as far as I'm aware, because that's literally what powers our brain. I think.
Yeah.
Hot take, this is something, again, I'm full of kind of just nonsense facts that may not be true.
It's the lads' podcast, we're having a pint, we're just in the corner of the pub, it's grand.
We are at fucking 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But I think I remember reading this before, is that if your brain is completely deprived of glucose, now glucose is literally in nearly everything, and it's in apples, it's in everything, but I think you will literally die if your brain doesn't get
absolutely.
any glucose or sugar.
But we don't need fucking 8 teaspoons of it in a fizzy drink, man. Do we don't need a fucking load of it in bread. My God. It's literally, look, I don't even want to go into conspiracy theories about why there's so much sugar in, particularly the American diet, because I noticed that when I go to America, the sugar is fucking... I'll taste bread and
I've heard that you eat bread and you taste sugar.
You haven't been to America, so...
No, I've no plan.
I can literally...
plans on going there.
As a person who's been there a couple of times for various reasons, I genuinely do. And it's here too, we have sugar in pretty much everything too, But
fast food is a huge part of their culture as well.
It is
they have so many more chains. And
Exactly. It is. Yeah. Eating out and stuff. But it's genuinely like, and portion sizes and stuff
are way bigger.
Way bigger.
I'm sure, watch, guys, we'd recommend, you've seen as well, Super Size Me.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
Was it every single meal he went out for? Yeah. Nothing but like McDonald's for a month or something. And he had to supersize everything. When they said, would you like to supersize it? He had to say yes. And the man's like health by the end of the month was abysmal.
I know. Jesus, would you do that?
And you see, we won't get it. Let's just very slightly skim across and
just poke at it, like, because that's a separate thing you can talk about for fucking ages.
Because I think it's also a class thing. Let's make this accessible and cheap for the working class people. So you're going to go to McDonald's. You might not be able to afford the expensive fruit and veg, because fruit and veg can be very expensive.
It is.
Depending on where you live.
Eating healthy is actually definitely
more expensive than buying.
It is. Like fruit is so expensive, man. A punnet of fucking berries. Yeah. 2 punnets of berries. Small fucking size of berries. Like, you'd eat them in 2 minutes. Like, $5 for 2 of them. That's fucking loads, like.
Yeah.
It's anyway, that's separate.
We won't go into that, because that's a very, maybe we'll do it on our Patreon.
Patreon exclusive, where we really get into the meat.
We haven't done any,
really call everyone out.
We haven't done any Patreon exclusives, but
we'll get to that.
Maybe we'll do the really super duper hot takes that we don't want going out into the complete public. We'll hide that behind a paywall, but
because we're really scared
of just being wrong. And you know what? That's good. Steve, we're reading out the audience participation. So this
is me.
It's you. That's your job, boy.
I nearly forgot. That's my job.
That's your job. Well
you
done.
Introduce it. I read out the lads.
Yes, of course. So, every week we reach out to our loving audience, and I think this week I asked guys' opinions on diets. Anything that sticks out? What's good? What's bad? Let us know. Call 0800 ladspodcast.com.
Danny DeVito said the lion diet.
What's that?
I don't know. He just said the lion diet.
Is that all he said? Lion.
I didn't look it up. Yeah. Maybe it's the Jordan.
Maybe that, because I suppose lions just
makes sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, look,
lions are doing fine.
If I had more time this week, I would have looked up to that, but busy all week. Okay, Michael Rosen said Most diets are marketing tools. In reality, we all know what good food and bad food is. It's just we want to find quick solutions with that in mind. Mini pizzas and waffles only.
Mini pizza and waffles. Yum.
Yeah, it's true. Well, look, that's, yeah.
But no, maybe the likes of, diet this, diet Coke, and low-fat
capitalism just wants to market everything.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? So you're being advertised fucking everything. So it's
everything and
it's
anything.
Hard to know what diet specifically you're being advertised.
But you are.
Because as we know, we live in a very capitalist society. Scarlett Johansson said, I've always been drawn to pescatarianism, vegetarianism, veganism, but they all have to be done correctly. It's really easy to fuck it up and lose a lot of energy, get mood swings, look like a skeleton without that being your aim. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Always research the diet you want to try and make sure you follow the basic guidelines. Right now I'm not on any diet. I've realised it's better not to do it at all rather than having it wrong. However, it's something that's always on my mind. Soon I want to ease myself into vegetarianism again and maybe later progress into veganism loosely. It's important to allow yourself to fuck up. Yeah, that's I've been on a similar road where it's like, you are going to fuck up if you don't ease your way into it. So it is.
Even myself, it's funny, out of our, we've a close gang of friends, 2 out of, let's say, 6 or 7 of us, or 8, let's just say,
Still eat meat,
and everyone else doesn't, which is quite the opposite, because usually it's the minority are non-meat eaters.
It's gone that way, but vegetarianism has gotten extremely popular.
It's very popular, vegetarianism, veganism, even just cutting down on meat. I was cutting down on meat for a while. I still eat, I guess, less meat. I don't have meat or dairy products really for my breakfast or lunch. Well, butter, never mind, I do.
Do you not have a big turkey sandwich with your bowl of porridge?
No,
so you get meat in every single
steak 3 times a day.
You have to get it in every single meal, boy.
But maybe for my dinner, and it's what I like. It's what I'm used to. It's what I was raised on, and I have no problem with it. Cognitive dissonance. If it's like, but Daragh, what about the animals? Yeah, cognitive dissonance. I'm well aware, and I don't like it yet.
Look, who am I to push you by?
Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting one. It's a moral, ethical debate, and
yeah.
Enough going on,
but I'm not going to shame you, and I don't eat meat, so I know I should. Well, a lot of people who don't eat meat do shame people. It's you're ruining the planet. Mm-hmm. So so are you by you're doing so many unethical things as well.
Yeah, there you go.
It's no one's fucking perfect. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's true as well. I can make a conscious decision to eat a little less meat and stuff, but it just doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah, literally. I absolutely hate the diet culture.
Who says this?
Seth Rogen says, okay. I absolutely hate the diet culture. People need to start eating more whole fruits and vegetables and not so much processed foods. This is something we didn't speak about, but yeah, bang on. Portion control and education on foods needs to be more ingrained into the school system so society as a whole can start to become more well informed, on what they put into their bodies. I mean, who really knows what we consume from big processed goods? It's fucking, yeah.
Yeah, actually there's that whole debate about GMOs, genetically modified organisms. The idea is that, this is an interesting kind of moral or grey area, I guess, if you're going to talk about it. The idea is that, we shouldn't be eating processed fruit and vegetables and stuff, stuff that it has, the genetics of the foods are modified.
Yeah.
And saying, people say that's unnatural, it's bad for you. But the interesting thing is, though, for example, a tomato, it has GMOs in it to make it live longer so that it can be transported from, South America to your doorstep.
Man, them pink lady apples, don't you tell me they're natural, those big, massive...
No, but there you go, but they're made bigger,
apples.
Plumper, live longer, they don't rot as quickly. You'll notice that if you make organic food, it's smaller and it doesn't last as long. But it's interesting. Yeah, so I find that debate very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot more grey to that, isn't there? But I think it is a nice general point to cook your fucking... And this is actually the thing that I'm really happy with as a young... my mother who'd be cooking...
As a young mother yourself, yeah.
As a young mother myself, cooking for my family of me and my sister and my dad. That was a pretty big thing in the house, was... a conscious thing of there was no vegetarianism conversations or anything, but it was a conscious thing of let's really try and cut out the processed foods.
Okay.
Make your own chips instead of just getting packet of chips and
or
your own curry.
Just a heated up meal.
I've really lucky that because that's what helped me develop good eating habits from a young age. And it's from that, just not having the processed foods. And
Yeah,
the already heated up meals.
And a lot of people, in fairness, would have the privilege of maybe having a stay-at-home mom, a mom that works at home essentially.
That's actually
and has the time, because a lot of us, our parents, maybe when we were growing up, I guess,
up the walls,
either up the walls, maybe. There's only one parent in the house or something, and they don't have time. They're busy. They're working.
Absolutely.
So you and a lot of people, and even me too. So for a lot of my childhood, fairness to mom, you have to give credit to them.
Yeah, totally. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I did want to acknowledge that. Mm-hmm. But I do think, apart from being busy, and I'm not saying it's no excuse, but I think it is an education thing. But it's
a hobby at the same time, because some people are like, I have enough going on, or I'm tired, or I simply don't want to cook.
Yeah.
I didn't like it when I was much younger. I love it now, but I still only cook twice a week.
But that there you go.
And then I bulk cook, and then it saves me the hassle, so the lazy part of me gets rewarded.
But that's a great idea. Like, that's what I do too. I try and cook twice a week, freeze it, refrigerate it, or whatever. Maybe have a day where you cook a load of things, and then
that's what I do.
Then you can, because I'm a very busy guy too, like yourself. So
yeah, you're incredibly busy, but you'll make your time. I'm the same. I think Thursday is like my cooking day. I love it.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like, oh, just get over it, you'll get there if you do it. But
ease your way into it though.
Exactly. And as you say, it does become a thing that you have to kind of enjoy. And I will say, like, from someone who sometimes comes home from work and then does his fucking exercise and does whatever, the last thing I fucking want to do now is cook, because I think, this is going to take me an hour. Often though, when you get, it really doesn't, like, it actually, if you get into it, it's fine.
But then again, don't shame yourself if you want to throw on a frozen pizza.
Oh yeah,
I
do that too, like,
Colleen Sully shepherd's pie, yum, yum,
Coca
yum,
noodles.
Coca noodles.
Why not?
Maybe not Coca noodles per se, because they're just nothing.
Yeah, a lot of people wrote in more, but it's kind of touched on what we already spoke about, so there's probably no point divulging into that. Sorry, guys, for not reading out your suggestions.
But your voices are heard.
Your voices are heard. It's cool,
Yeah, brilliant.
So, boy.
So, Steve, what's for dinner?
I'll see you.
I have a chicken, green pesto with white wine, cream, pine nut sauce. I bulk cooked that last week, and it's in the fridge currently defrosting.
Yeah.
Gonna get home this evening when I'm finished editing the podcast. Yeah. And I'm gonna eat it up.
Yeah. Oh, I won't have time. You see, I'm going away tomorrow, so yeah.
Are you? Where are you going?
Holidays.
Can I come?
Yeah, come on, let's go.
Oh, yes!
Thanks, lads.
Actually,
let's just,
Fuck.
Just fucking come on.
Will you leave the room while I finish the podcast?
Go on, so.
Yeah. We're actually friends. No. We're actually very good friends.
I'm mad at him now. No, you're not coming on holidays.
Oh, no!
You're not going in my car.
Next week's podcast will be a little bit different, as in completely different, because we're going to be on the road. We'll have a little microphone and one camera with us. But what we might do next week is a Q&A podcast. That'll be just a complete ask the lads about literally anything, whether it's you're curious about the podcast, about us as people, maybe about the 3Me sketches we do. Maybe you want to, or maybe it's just maybe an agony aunt question. You want a bit of advice.
Advice from two fellas who'll give you the opposite advice, and then
who'll give you terrible advice
and don't take it.
And then what you do is you go, okay, now I'll just do the opposite of what they told me.
Yeah. So we'll have that in mind when you ask us things.
Exactly. So, but yeah, no, genuinely, that next week, because we won't really be able to research. We'll be on our holidays. We don't want to put too much time away from our holiday, but we do want to give you your weekly podcast. So Q&A, you've just listened to this on whatever date it is.
Think about your questions though, lads. You
and
can only
get
ask
them in
once,
because we'll record sometime during the week.
Yes.
You've listened to this podcast. So get them in or
fucking die,
I guess.
Yeah.
That's right, the choice.
Yeah, we've gone way over time from what we intended to be.
It's grand.
So we'll leave you go.
Thank you for listening to this week's Lads podcast. Enjoy your week. Be kind to one another. Be excellent, dude.
Party on. Oh man, I really want to see Bill and Ted, but I
don't care. Podcast over. Bye.
Heartbreak me to see Keanu Reeves going, party on, dude. Right, go on. Bye.
See you. Bye.